bringing it up to depth of knowledge 2, see that handout here? We have a graphic organizer. It reminds me, I'm sorry, I added something at the last minute here. If you look on the back of the very first item that I gave you, which was the beginner T-chart and all the arguments, you'll notice there's something on the back of it. You have that. On the back of the original handout, which was the T-chart with the arguments for the beginners, there's something that says exit tickets. I did leave out, and I'm sorry because now I'm a little bit out of order. An exit ticket is something you can use just for a wrap-up or a reflection, or learning maybe 1 or 2 things that the students used at the very end of a class, maybe the last 10 minutes, that you can have them do quickly and hand back in as they're leaving the room, the ticket to get out of the room. And you'll see that what I did with that, let me just pull it out here, is I had them fill in the blanks with one of the arguments on each side of the issue in your own words. So as they're leaving, they would fill in this little frame, and I'm going to talk about frames again in a minute, where they would say, many states have restored voting rights to convicted felons. I either support or oppose the right to vote because, and they have to fill in one of the arguments you've been talking about the entire class period. And then opponents argue this, and that's not persuasive because. But they've had the whole class to work on these and pick one, and then as they're leaving, you can see that they got a little bit of the argument. And we're going to talk about frames more in just a minute. I wanted to point out to you that that was there. Okay, so what you have now is the graphic organizer that has the evidence, the quote, how does the evidence support the claim, and then the column with problems with reasoning. So being able to fill out, taking the article, and then filling out the claim on top, the author believes that convicted felons, whatever that is, and then what is the evidence for that, and how does the evidence support the claim? This is the depth of knowledge too. So they're starting to pull out from the article what specifically is the evidence that the author is giving. So the class can start working on this again using pairs or threes or small groups or on their own. I like the think, pair, share model, which you may have heard of, which is give them time to do this on their own. And then pair up with another student and compare what they came up with. And they can adjust once they hear the other person's reasons, adjust, and then share it with the class. Because I always like to give people just some quiet time to do these tasks on their own. Also, I want to emphasize just walking around and seeing what they're doing with the organizer. I will say that a large percentage of the time, what the students, many students, will start doing is putting the first sentence in the first box and the second sentence in the second box. And we really have to start working with them. Why it's a depth of knowledge too, is they have to read it and pull out only the items that are the evidence and then think them through. Now, coming up with the problems with reasoning brings you to depth of knowledge 3. But that's on here too. And they can start doing that while they're reading. I would probably encourage them to stick with the first 3 columns and then to go back and think about a little bit on their own what the faulty reasoning might be. But after they're finished, we could start discussing as a class what arguments were faulty and why. And this is the thing my students don't like, and they know I always do this. I am why why, every time they use a pronoun, who are you talking about, why, that justification and being very articulate about what you're talking about, who. They always say they're against it. Who? What are they against? What's the it? Really being able to start even talking in full sentences with every level of student. And again, all the students, no matter how well they read, can recognize when somebody's making a faulty argument about something like should convicted felons be able to vote. So it gives everyone a chance to do that.